Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session, Inspire the Next on AWS through hybrid cloud and data technologies. So we'll get started here. I know we don't have as many people as probably I had expected, but nevertheless, I think I welcome the people who are here and really looking for, because we have fewer people probably looking for a closer dialogue and more interactive session here. Okay, so here what I'm going to present with Prem, who is from Hitachi Digital, and we do also have one of our very important customers, Penske, here. So Sarvant will be joining, and then of course we do have our AWS partner here, David here. So we'll be doing this session again. I think as we have, I would like to hear your views also at the end. Now let's get started with some of the real life scenarios that we see around data.
We're for the data-driven. For those who understand clarity is currency, believe progress requires precision, and know neutral is not an option. We're for the data-driven, the ones who can't tolerate failure, who won't put up with downtime, or allow access to just anyone. We're for the data-driven, who act on insight instead of instinct, bank on privacy instead of probabilities, and rely on resilience instead of reaction. We see ourselves in the obsessive, the incessant progressive, and the meticulously engineered. We enable the incredible, identify with the analytical, and are synonymous with the mission critical. We know what it means to be data-driven because data is in our DNA. We were born industrial, and we breathe digital. We speak predictive analytics so you can keep supply chains moving. We bleed in-store and online insights so you can accurately predict customer preferences. We sweat security and digital privacy so you can turn complex regulations into competitive advantage. We break down barriers and eliminate silos so you can go from data-rich to data-driven. Because it's clear, the future belongs to the data-driven.
Okay. So what I'm going to talk about is how data is important when it comes to generative AI. So that's going to be the theme of my presentation. Now, I think there's absolutely no doubt that we saw that a data-driven strategy actually differentiates you from your competition, absolutely no doubt. There are also, however, all of us know that there are a lot of challenges when it comes to data. Data is very highly distributed. It's siloed. It's probably on the infrastructure, older legacy infrastructure. Also, some of the data is also redundant, and people don't know what exactly they have where they have. So I think while these are all the challenges, I think data being in motion, one more thing is that also data is doubling every 2 to 3 years. And while it's a challenge, I think it's also a great opportunity for any enterprise to derive insights from this data and convert into insights that can drive differentiation for them. And with all the things that are going around with Gen AI, I think all of us will agree that the data is more important than ever before. Also, not only the data that is there publicly available, but your proprietary data sets, your private data sets, they are so important for you to really derive true value out of Gen AI. So, having said that, let's see what we noticed over the past few months. AI has been there for the last 50 years, right? However, ChatGPT came, within 2 months, it reached reached what a number of users it reached that took Netflix to take it about 10 years. So I think what is so different about it, I think what happened that ChatGPT exposed the power of AI through a very simple natural language interface. And it got popular from kids to grandparents. Now, I think I also attribute this success to what has been done over the years, right? I think it was possible because now we have enormous amount of data that could produce that kind of results. Also, all the advancements that happen in the transformer models and the parallelism that also made it possible. And last but not the least, also the amount of compute that we have today made it possible. As all this happened, I think one of the things also we saw a lot of great examples of LLMs being used for creative content generation. We saw its really impactful use cases for customer support and conversational usages. Apart from this, I think what amazes me the most is how we can access these LLMs through APIs. I think that's a paradigm shift in itself. And that's we are in a phase where we are going through the democratization of AI. So, I mean, I think it was like few years back, if someone had to do something with AI, they needed data scientists, they need a lot more expertise around AI than probably they need today. So, while all this also got interested enterprises into what can be done with Gen AI. And in fact, according to McKinsey, they're saying it probably Gen AI has a potential to pour trillions of dollars into the economy every single year. So what does it mean for the enterprise? And that's what I'm going to talk a little more about. So I think that these LLMs or Gen AI has got tremendous potential to create content, right? The generative part of it is very, very impressive. However, I also got to say that it's one thing for these LLMs to write poems or create the content, the creative content, and it's another thing to use it for a mission-critical purpose. When it comes to enterprise use or the mission-critical utilization of these LLMs, I think what matters a lot is you got to think about security, you got to think about the explainability, you got to think about the lineage, you got to think about how you keep the biases under control, you got to think you have the right guardrails into place. Because you don't want to expose your enterprise in case there is a dispute and let them fall into very, very expensive legal battles. So it's very important to design these things right from the onset. So that's one thing. Also, we all have seen, we all know that training these LLMs is not trivial. It takes a lot of compute. It's very expensive. So how do you do it right in a way that doesn't become cost prohibitive later? We being Hitachi, I think another thing we worry about is sustainability. And training these models has a lot of carbon emissions, very well-known fact. So how do we do all this in a way that we are socially responsible? So here is, as we are experimenting with it, here are some of our observations. And in fact, towards the end, if time permits, I would like to hear what you guys are saying. One of the things we're saying is that it is probably more effective to have smaller models than a very large model. Smaller, fine-tuned models that are combined with RAG and domain adaptive pre-training are a lot more effective than one single large model. We are also saying that having multiple models is a lot more effective. Also, instead of bringing the data at one place, having a virtualized data access to data wherever it is, whether it's on-prem or cloud, wherever you provide access, that's also very, 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 very important. And last but not the least, that an overall observability system that can track, they can monitor all these LLMs, all these different behaviors, accuracy. I think that's very, very powerful. So these are some of our early observations that we have. Now, as we kind of, what we're doing at Hitachi Vantara, we are developing an easy to install and easy to deploy and easy to use one-in-a-box solution. So here, there are 3 components to the solution that we are developing. The very first one is a data access, a semantic data layer. So we are providing access to virtualized data wherever it resides. The second part to it is we are giving the hardware, both the storage and the compute, in a way that could be used to train your models. And I think what's here is that we have very highly efficient parallel file system, but what we're doing is we are also combining it with object storage and doing the intelligent data optimization as needed. So that's the second piece. And third piece here is that we're giving a very simple NLP interface to develop these, what we call companions. They're nothing but, think of them as GenAI agents that could be developed using a very simple natural language interface. It's possible to debug them using this system, also fine-tune them, and keep track of what exactly they're doing. So that's a kind of a 3-in-a-box solution that we are developing. And here our goal is that we are targeting domain experts that may or may not have the machine learning experience. So this is the architecture, underlying architecture for this appliance. I think what you see at the top is our semantic data plane, which provides the unified data access for GenAI applications. And it's also, it gets the enrichment from RAG. Now, what's also different here is that we are not relying on the RAG just for embeddings. Actually, we are complementing it with knowledge graphs and also relational databases. So I think just think of it as an example if there is a simple query about the inventory levels in your enterprise. So as that query comes, it's possible to convert it into an SQL and get the results. As that SQL gets executed through our semantic data plane, and which has the virtualized access, it really does not matter where that data resides and also in which format it is. We can handle Puckett file, we can handle the relational databases, and we can handle text-based data. So that's the main piece that's at the core. Now, this is being complemented with, at the bottom, what you see is our hardware. We do have a highly performing file system that's complemented with our object storage. Again, it's possible to use it for different types of workloads, and from small to medium to very large workloads. But I think what we're doing here is we are doing it in such a way that it's possible to also have cost and control. So we are able to intelligently do the data movement. Now, last but not the least, we have what we call companions. And here, I think this is the thing that we are investing a lot of our time to figure out what's the right way to do here. But here we are relying on multiple LLMs, multiple specialized agents, GenAI agents, versus a very big, large model. And these specialized companions, like think of it as a squad of companions. and they can discover each other. They can figure out. They also know what each one is specialized at. So instead of if they like one of the problems we see with Gen AI is in hallucination. So sometimes what happens is that you go with ChatGPT, and if it does not know the answer, it just starts, because they're so good at creation, right, creativity, they start creating the content. But what we do here, we are grounding our models, we're teaching them to answer a specific task. And when we see that they are very capable of delegating that task to other companion if they don't know the answer. So that's one of the other themes that we have behind having these many companions. Though I have to say that managing one Gen AI agent versus many of these is complex. So you got to have a system in place which can do the discovery, which can do the fine tuning, and also figure out what's going on, also have a complete monitoring system in place. So that's the downside of it, but I think it's worth. Other interesting scenario, think of it as, right, like these companions cannot reside, all of them cannot reside at one place. I mean, some of these companions need to be on-prem, some probably makes more sense for them to be in the cloud, and sometimes probably it makes sense for them to be near like they could be IoT devices, and they are somewhere out there near the edge. So the fact that they are highly distributed, but they can still talk to each other, communicate with each other, and figure out, I think that we are finding, and our customers actually are finding it very interesting proposition. Now, with that, I think other thing that where we got to start with, Hitachi does have an edge over others in terms of our domain expertise. So we are very uniquely positioned with 100+ years of data from industrial sector. So we are also using that to develop these companions and make it available to our customers for their use. Now with that, I will invite Prem, who will talk more about what some of our customers are doing.
Hello. Thanks, Bharati. And thanks everybody for being here. What I'll do is the next 10 minutes probably I'll walk through some of the customer experiences that we are today working with, right, in this ecosystem. And I know Bharati took us through Gen AI, so I don't want to preach any more Gen AI. All of us know where we are today, so we're in the world of generations, it's generative. But how are customers getting value from Gen AI? So I wanted to spend a minute on that, right? There are 3 key areas that customers are focused on, and when we talk to our customers about use cases, and I'll show you some use cases that we are actually implementing with our customers, there is the customer experience that they want to improve for their end customers, which is where all the bot-related activity and stuff is happening, right? Where the customers are enhancing the way their end customers are interacting with their products, with their business. Second is accelerating their own enterprise transformation. So be it software engineering, applying code generation patterns, and so on and so forth, where they can drive more efficiency within their organization. Third, and we'll continue to talk, and I'll invite a customer of ours shortly to come and speak about this, as well as where they are starting to think about their own domains, their data, how can they leverage that to create additional revenue streams? How can you monetize the data that is sitting with you, that you've collected and stored for a long number of years, right? So those are the 3 key areas where customers are generating value using Gen AI. Now, when you think about the design patterns, there are 4 key patterns that customers use. Again, in the order of complexity and the amount of time you spend. Prompt engineering, all of us know, we can go to OpenAI and type whatever we want. The better your prompt is, the better your answer is. Nothing great there, but that's becoming a field that's growing. Second is RAG, which is a model where 90% of our customers currently fall, which is how do I leverage the data that I have and then leverage an open LLM or a LLM that uses, that's already been trained on a huge corpus of data and still get more specific answers. Third is fine tuning. Again, this is a use case we will speak about in a bit more depth. Fourth is actually building custom domain models. And I won't water this slide down, but here is a set of use cases that we're actually working with our customers on, be it financial use cases where they're using this for wire fraud analytics, logistics where they're using it for predictive maintenance, fleet awareness, repairs, in the automotive space, in the aerospace, in healthcare. So enough examples where people have started to leverage Gen AI, right? But what's critical in all of this is there is a pattern to apply this. There's one way we start to think about what do we want to do with this, because people are still struggling with, hey, when I apply Gen AI, what's my ROI? I know it does some fancy stuff, it accelerates, but what does it mean? Am I able to take out wastage from my system? How much money am I spending on this Gen AI so that when I recover benefits, what is my ROI? So envision, evaluate is around co-creation, which is where we spend a lot of time with our customers. And also they spend time with us to go create something that makes sense, where we start to then understand the impact of it both from a business standpoint, from an ROI standpoint. And Bharati alluded to using smaller models rather than larger models. All of this is use case specific, right? Second is execute, and then you continue to be nimble and evolve. Now this is a bold statement, and I'll explain why I made this statement. I said no Gen AI without AI, probably I think the best slide in this deck, because it goes against what all of us are doing. The idea is not to say that there is no Gen AI, but in all the examples that I showed in the previous slide, right, be it predictive maintenance, be it wire fraud analysis, be it a simple door pricing that we're working with a customer on, be it any field, right, aerospace, where we think about engine health at real time, there is an underlying model, and that gets way enhanced by applying Gen AI at the topmost layer. So the underlying model, so that is the way enterprises are really using Gen AI to derive value, right? It's not about the bots. Bots is just the surface layer. But the actual value is in the model that you build on your own data, that helps you create new revenue streams, that helps you unleash the power of your business and create value to your end customers, right? So that's the idea when I said no Gen AI without AI. Again, there are multitude of possibilities with this. A lot of existing use cases are getting enhanced with Gen AI, and one such is the case that we're working with a company called Penske Corporation, where we have worked with them for over years working on their predictive maintenance suite of apps, right? And I'll invite Sarvant from Penske onto stage to talk more about what we've done together and how they're thinking Gen AI will be applied to evolve this into the next.
Thank you, Prem. Good evening, everyone. Hitachi is such a great partner, and together we have solved many complex problems using AI ML. So I'm just very happy and excited to be here, so thank you for inviting. Implementing AI is a lot more complex. Operationalizing AI requires much more than just good data science, but I think that's a topic for some other day. Today we're talking about Gen AI, and if you are as curious and as excited as I am about this field, I'm thinking you'll be able to get something out of it. If you are an IT or a data practitioner, I'm very, very confident that, like me, you're getting pinged on a daily basis from business partners that, hey, what are we doing on the Gen AI front, right? And if you are giving that deer in the headlights look, right, then I think through my slides you'll be able to get something meaningful out of it. If you have it already figured out, then please see me after the presentation, because I would love to learn from you. So with that note, let me start by bringing some business context to what Prem was mentioning. So I'll start by talking a little bit about Penske. So you may have known us through our yellow trucks, which you see on the road, but we're a lot more than that. Penske is a closely held, diversified group of companies, and we are in retail and automotive sector. Collectively, we are $35 billion plus. Just Penske Automotive, which is in the new and used car sales, it's $25 billion in revenue. We also have Premier Truck Group, that's our truck dealerships. Penske Racing, that is our other very, very visible part of our business. So, and this year has been a great year. I mean, Joseph Newgarden won Indianapolis 500, and Ryan Blaney won NASCAR Cup Series championship. So we're all very, very happy, very, very excited about it. And right before COVID, Penske acquired Indiana Motor Speedway, and that is what became Penske Entertainment. I am part of Penske Transportation Solutions Group. That's in the blue box at the bottom there. And we are in truck leasing, logistics, rental, truck rental, and contract maintenance businesses. Collectively, we own a fleet of more than 445,000 trucks. And we take care of our customers through our 44,000 employees, very dedicated, and more than 900 locations. So that's a little bit about Penske. We started working with Hitachi on AI front back in 2015. And guided repair, the use case Prem was talking about, was the first use case. And we went live in 2017. Then we started working on proactive diagnostics. So we have our trucks connected to our data platform, and we are processing more than 200 million messages a day. So we take all those messages, run them through this proactive diagnostics engine, and this tells us when a truck is going to fail, depending upon if that is going to happen in a couple of hours versus a couple of days. We take different actions. Guided repair is all about predicting what's the best repair once a failure has already occurred, once a truck is already in our shop, right? So these two solutions have been extremely powerful. Let me share a very interesting fact. I don't know if you know this, but in the US, 70% of the freight gets carried by trucks. That means approximately 7 out of the 10 things, if you look around in this room, have been on a truck at some point of time. So that's the power of these solutions, because these solutions are helping us keep our trucks on the road and making sure our customers are happy. So with Gen AI, we are looking at that can we expand our guided repair solution so that our technicians can interact with it dynamically, right? And that's where the power lies. Let me also share this, that we started looking at conversational AI, which is the previous generation of generative AI, back in 2018. We implemented some solutions back there, like for rental reservations and service desks. Those solutions were successful, but we were running into some challenges. We knew that these smaller models, they have a lot more growing to do. So when ChatGPT came in last year, I know a lot of people in the world were shocked. Some of us were excited, and we were like, finally, right? Finally someone has solved this problem, which we always knew existed. So for us, it's very, very exciting, because I think we have the rest of the framework built, and for us, as soon as we can swap out those smaller models with these larger models, I think we'll have a workable solution. So without further delay, let me talk about how Penske is approaching generative AI. So on the left-hand side at the top, you see Amazon Bedrock. So we have a great AWS enterprise support team. And collectively, we did some proof of concepts. Those proof of concepts have turned out to be extremely, extremely successful. The feedback from our SMEs has been great. So we settled on Amazon Bedrock, and that is going to be our platform to pull in these external LLMs, which we will not be training, we'll be just using them, right? So that's first input. Then the second input you have is our internal LLMs. So at some point of time, I do believe that we'll end up having either our own LLM, which is going to be focusing just on transportation domain, or we'll end up picking one. The reason why I'm very excited and very confident about this is what Bloomberg did with Bloomberg GPT, right? Because that's an LLM focusing just on the financial domain. So I do believe that we'll start seeing some of the LLMs come in these other domains, and definitely in transportation. The third input you see there, and I think Prem was talking about this, is Gen AI by itself will not achieve its full potential. It will achieve its full potential when you'll be able to combine Gen AI with other AI, right, with other inputs. And that's the third thing you see at the bottom. And we are planning to build this orchestration platform in the middle, using which we'll be able to deliver a digital unified Gen AI experience to our knowledge workers. And right now we are focusing on intelligent search, like the knowledge bases, as some of our initial use cases. Customer service, I think that's a great example. That's a great use case. Because today we receive a lot of emails, customer asking for things. Using Gen AI, you can interpret and maybe create a response. In some cases, maybe send it back automatically. In other cases, maybe have someone review it. Right? So it really cut down on the time to response. Code generation and testing is other area, and we're building our roadmap for other Gen AI items. So this is my last slide, and this is what we put together at Penske, that this is how you can build a Gen AI foundation in your enterprise. So what you see on the left is this wheel of a truck. Well, we are a transportation company. I think having your Gen AI strategy as the wheel of a truck make all the sense in the world. So we believe in the center, we will have to have this general purpose LLM, whether it is ChatGPT, Bard, Titan, Anthropic, doesn't matter, you'll have to pick one. And then you'll have this domain-specific, industry-specific LLM that's transportation. And as Prem was talking about, that is where the customization will start to happen as you start focusing on the spokes, because your functions and lines of businesses are represented on the spokes. And that is where the Gen AI needs to become more narrow, right? Because it's purpose-built. So the best way to understand this picture is that if you're moving towards the center, more standardization needs to happen. As you're moving towards the periphery or the tire of the truck, more customization can take place, right? I hope that makes sense. And as you know, a wheel of a truck, if you'll turn it sideways, what you'll see is a cylinder. And that's what you see on the right side. That is the layered value delivery model. So at the bottom, you have the Gen AI platform foundation. We selected Bedrock. You can definitely make your own choice. Then comes the RAG layer. Today, to solve the hallucination problem, the traceability problem, this pattern is emerging, and we really value it. So RAG definitely is the next layer. Then we also believe that we'll have to marry the output of Gen AI with the output from other AI or other frameworks. So that is the enablers and augmentation services layer. Then you have administration, observability, and personalization, because safety, ethics, compliance, cybersecurity is extremely important. So that's that layer. And then at the top, you have the solutions layer. The reason why we are building it in layers is because we believe there's a lot of innovation, which means disruption, which will be taking place. So if these are layered, you can swap one layer out with something new without impacting the rest of your architecture. And this is how you can get architecture leverage, which is just so important to technology leaders or business leaders today. So with that note, I'm going to hand this back over to Prem, and I wish you all the best for your Gen AI journey.
Thank you, Sarvant. There's a little secret there that you didn't tell them, right? You asked Gen AI to create the slide saying we are a transportation company, and did it not come up with the tires?
I wanted to, but then I realized that Gen AI has to mature further.
But then it might go back into the public.
Yes,
So anyway.
there you go. We want
So that's
secured.
I know. Thank you so much, Sarvant, for sharing it. But that's a fantastic use case that we've been working with over, like I said, 7-8 years now. And that's leading into Gen AI. And I think that's one of the more powerful ways many customers can start to enhance their existing I would say, investments in AI, because that's not a relatively small investment. With that, I wanted to invite our partner, David from AWS, onto the stage. And David, again, while we won't drain anymore with slides, what I do want you to talk about is, as AWS, as one of the largest cloud providers in the planet, as of now, I believe.
Maybe. I don't know how Mars is doing these days, but thanks for that.
We'll talk to Mr. Musk and we'll see if we can ship some there. Nevertheless, how do you guys think about Gen AI, your roadmap, and how do you guys think about enabling partners like us, as well as customers like Servant, scale this?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, and I actually don't have the slides, so I'm going to talk through this. One of the things that we've seen is, I work with customers and partners every day, so I'm getting a lot of learnings from the field. We'll talk about that in a second, but we're at the end of the beginning. So if you think about, kind of the moment of ChatGPT, where consumers finally discovered this thing that's been around for a while, and kind of we'll bookend it with this reInvent. We won't talk about kind of recent events in the industry, but we are at the end of the beginning. And what I'm here to tell you that we've discovered that Gen AI has no moat, okay? So like this notion that you can deploy a generative AI solution and like you have a competitive advantage against your competitors, it doesn't work like that. Essentially, like we are all on a treadmill to kind of keep moving forward to deploy this technology. So it's not enough to deploy one model. It's not enough to deploy a few models. Like we have to keep running. So welcome to the pace of innovation. And the way that we look at this from kind of an AWS perspective is that, one, we're big believers in democratization of these tools. So what we saw kind of in the past was generative AI, and it's been around for a while, right? Gen AI is not new. If you ever watched the movie about the chess computer defeating Garry Kasparov, right? That was generative AI. If you've ever seen the things about kind of game playing, we saw natural language processing, we saw GANs, like all of this stuff has existed, but it reached a consumer moment when we saw, the 100 million users of ChatGPT. And we've got a lot to do here. So when customers first encounter this, like it may seem confusing, but the way to think about it is that AWS is providing tools at every layer of the stack. And the second oldest rule of IT, the oldest rule being garbage in, garbage out, is that people, process, and tools are what matters. So in terms of people, you have to think about upskilling your workforce. And it's not just the data scientists anymore. You need to have business analysts. You need to have marketers. You need to have graphic designers all using those tools and understanding it. So if you've seen kind of the AI pledge from AWS, we're looking to take commitments to train people in AI, not just for kind of the feel-good feeling, but they're going to consume our products and services too. So second, process. So one of the things where customers often struggle is that it's not the technology, right? Like the technology from a user standpoint and from a developer standpoint, frankly, isn't that complex, right? Like how many people have actually used like a ChatGPT or an LLM playground of some sort? Surely somebody, right? Okay. How many of you seen it in your company deployed to like a proof of concept? All right, a few less hands. You can't raise your hand. How many people have it in production? Exactly. And what is like that's stopping people, because it's not the technology. We've all played with this, right? It is the processes in which you need to be able to deploy it at a company of any size. So you start to think about governance, right? You need to say, like, am I going to get sued because of this large language model? Does it fit in with my data practices? Like, I may be responsible for GDPR, CCPA, the whole alphabet soup of requirements around data. So what customers say is, like, this is very confusing. I just want to get a solution. The board's on me to get a solution, right? You guys have probably heard this too. I'm here to tell you that we're at the point where the tooling is here. So like AWS coming to the rescue with tools, and you'll hear a lot about Gen AI this week. You'll hear a lot about tools that we're releasing. There's some pretty exciting stuff on the board. Don't miss Swami's keynote if you care about this topic at all. Tools are coming online, right? All right, awesome. Now, how is AWS thinking about this? We really think about it as kind of 3 layers of a stack. So at your kind of base layer, at the infrastructural layer, this is where we have custom silicon. So you've heard about, hopefully, Inferentia, so lowest price performance to do inference. I've seen some numbers on that. Seems pretty real. Trainium, lowest price performance to do training of large language models. And as customers and as you as individuals start to think about, do I want my own Bloomberg GPT or Penske GPT? This silicon is really going to matter. Second, in the middle layer, we have, many of you have heard of Bedrock. Many of you have heard of SageMaker. These kind of sit together in the same layer. So think about, the way to think about Bedrock is it is a serverless vending machine. You put in your tokens, you get the answers from your models. Nothing to manage, it just works. But a lot of customers, I find, want to have a lot more knobs and levers when they use these tools, right? And that's what SageMaker is great for. If you want to get some of the benefits of a managed service, but still maintain a lot of control, you have SageMaker. And then SageMaker gives us a window into what I would call the long tail of models. So within SageMaker Jumpstart, 1,000+ models, integration with Hugging Face. Basically, we have infinite access to every model that matters. And I'm here to tell you that we are going to see an explosion of the number of models, the size of models, the type of models, the modality of models. There would literally be tens of thousands of models out there. How do you choose? Partners can help. This is a great place to bring in a partner like Hitachi, where they can talk about kind of hard-won experiences, what works, and they're staying current. Super important to have a partner to kind of help you on this journey. And then at the top layer, you can start to see, I don't know if this is an official term, but I call them AI apps. So like Health Scribe, which is a doctor notes app. Code Whisperer, which is a code generation app. These sit on top of this functionality, and they're kind of basic inputs and outputs. And if you've followed AWS for any time, we've done AI services. So you can think of Transcribe as kind of an AI app today. You can think of things like Forecast or Personalize. And they're really designed to do one thing really well, right? Give it the inputs, get the outputs. So very simple, sits at the top layer, very much designed for the user, but in kind of true AWS fashion, we give you all the pieces, right? We don't often say, here's a fully featured solution with everything that you want. We say, here's a bunch of pieces, you can build whatever you want with it. Customers will say, well, what should I build? And we say, well, you can build whatever you want with it. And that's where you really need a partner to kind of bring in, right? And that's where the tools, the people, and the process all come together, because now you have expertise. And the thing to think about is that most companies could do it on their own, right? It's not a technological barrier. It's not a compliance barrier. All that stuff is hard, but it's not impossible. But what you can do is take the knowledge of partners that have gone through this many times, right? Penske's not your only customer, right? You have a lot of hard-won experience. And one of my favorite quotes, this is a Werner Vogel's quote, there is no compression algorithm for experience. And it's true. This hard-won experience, there's only so much you can learn from reading the docs or reading a book or hearing about it. It's that 10% of actually implementing things that distinguishes one partner from another, one situation from another, and super useful. So think about those 3 layers. Keep your eyes open for Swami's keynote. That's my favorite one. He's a super nice guy, too, if you ever get to talk to him. And I just want to thank all of you for coming, and thank you for enjoying our time.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming.